Welcome to the Ripple Effect Martial Arts Podcast.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. Today we have Ms Maya Walton. She's a third-degree black belt and an instructor at Ripple Effect Martial Arts in Middleburg, Florida. Welcome to the program, Ms Walton.
Thank you very much for having me.
Can we start just with a little introduction of yourself? Who are you and how did you come to the martial arts?
Yeah, of course. I started training in about 2009, 2010. I was about 9 years old, 10 years old around the time. And my younger brother, Marshall, who actually started training first at Ripple Effect Martial Arts Middleburg, formerly known as Middleburg Martial Arts during that time. He started in what we call our Tiny Tiger Little Dragons program, our Little Ripples program. He started there at 5 years old. And I was probably on the sidelines watching with one of my parents, probably my mom, and I was like, this is easy. I could do it. He was, doing his class and I was copying the moves on the side, and pretty much that's, history. That's pretty much it right there. So he will never live that down. If Marshall listens to this, he's going to be very, very happy about that. But yeah, he started first and then kind of I followed, and then our parents followed shortly after that. So.
I love that. For any parents listening, there's always some kind of sibling rivalry. And the martial arts school is a great, safe, productive place for that to occur. I've seen that countless times. The siblings, usually younger siblings, sometimes older, on the sidelines in the aisles doing the moves. And it's like, yeah, get out on the floor. So you were excited to actually get out there and put on a uniform and take part, huh?
Yes, I can't exactly remember. It's been so long now since I've been training that I can't quite remember being a white belt anymore. It's kind of weird, but I'm sure when I was younger, I was very shy. I lacked a lot of confidence, and I think I was very, I wouldn't talk to people. I was very quiet, very reserved, and I'm still much that way a little bit today. Obviously, I've grown out of that shell. However, I think getting on the mat at first, I was probably a little intimidated, probably a little like, okay, I'm not sure. All of this is new. I'm not sure what I'm doing. But I think once I got the hang of it, I became a little bit more, receptive to the program and jumped right in and became a natural at it. So
how did training and becoming an instructor ultimately help you grow out of that shell?
Yeah, I think it definitely put me out of my comfort zone. I'm speaking in a different language when I'm instructing different parts of a form or the self-defense techniques I teach. So I think definitely kind of almost being forced to, teach and instruct and projecting your voice so your students and the parents can hear what you're teaching and everything. I think definitely just kind of biting the bullet, ripping off the Band-Aid and getting down and doing it, I think is the best way to overcome that. Just kind of get out of your head and okay, I'm going to teach these kids today or teach the adults today, and I'm going to do it the best I can. We have an instructor creed that we follow. I'm going to try my best to remember exactly what it says. But I will teach this class that is the most enthusiastic class I will ever teach. I will lead by example, and I will be enthusiastic. I can't quite remember how it goes, but that's something along the lines of kind of what we want to embody as instructors as we teach our classes each day to kind of instill our life skills that we teach to our students.
Yeah, so there's training behind the scenes that parents don't see, the students don't see necessarily. But when you come out there, the energy is there. I've often wondered, where does that come from? Because the student body, how big is a class? A given class, it's about how many students?
It ranges anywhere between 1 to 2 students if it's a lower ranking class. But our intermediate rank, our green and brown belt students, I think a biggest class is maybe 30 people.
Right.
Even not all of those students are green belt. Some of them are a little higher ranking red belts. And that's shout out to Mr. Pilliard and Mr. Paul Pilliard. He teaches a large green belt class Thursday, and it's pretty awesome for him to see and do that.
So we're talking one-on-one to an elementary school teacher, a middle school teacher, a high school teacher, a college class, that kind of group of students. And that takes a lot of confidence and skill to be able to reach out to one person to 30 people. What's your goal when you come out on the mat and you start let's start with white belt. All right, these are new students. What's your goal? What are you feeling when you come out on that white belt mat?
Yeah, of course. I've taught quite a number of white belt classes, whenever we integrated them, solely white belt classes, and I love them. They're new students. They don't quite know the stances or the kicks. So I teach with very much detail. I like to explain things fully so everyone understands kind of what is happening with as much detail as possible. So I break everything down so it's easy to understand for the little kid that's 7 years old or the adult, that's 35. I make it fun. I explain it. I have them, interact with each other, doing partner work, holding the different pads we have and striking and punching and kicking on those. And I have them repeat and interact as well, saying, counting in Korean and really taking my time because it's a smaller class. I taught white belts yesterday and I had maybe six of them. So it was kind of nice. I like the smaller classes. It's easy to give that individual one-on-one attention, which I think some of our students really thrive and need. So,
For you as an instructor, is there ever, as a black belt instructor with experience and everything, is there ever a feeling of intimidation in that environment?
um, I don't think so. Just because I've kind of been accustomed to teaching and kind of how a class runs and things like that. I don't think so. I think when it comes to a class that I'm teaching or a white belt class, I think if I'm not in the right headspace that day, I might not teach the best. If I'm dealing with something off the mat or, anything else, that's at the point where I don't want to bring it onto the mat with me. I want to kind of fake it a little bit and make sure my students still get, the best class and enjoy their class and have fun. I think one of the questions I always ask to my students is if they have fun, and most of them say yes. Sometimes they're like, but that's the point where, if I get an answer like that, a response like that, I want to kind of reflect and, see where I can improve for next time.
What do you remember about approaching the black belt level? Or what kind of pressures or challenges were there for you when you were getting there?
I was about 13, 14 around that time when I was getting ready to test for first degree black belt. So at that point, I was in junior high. I had other ambitions I wanted to do. I also enjoy track and field and running. So that's kind of what I wanted to try in junior high to make the junior high track and field team. So what I did was I did conditioning for about a day. And then my mom came and picked me up early because she's like, you have to go to karate class because around that same time I was getting ready to test for black belt. So I think the challenges around that time were one, giving up something else I loved, kind of sacrificing that for martial arts. And lo and behold, martial arts is kind of is my passion now. And I still love to run and I don't do it as much, of course, but I think that was one of the big challenges for me is that accepting that you can't do this thing right now because this is more important for you right now. So I think that was a big challenge for me to overcome at that point. And then I was still in school too. So navigating, my classes in high school and or junior high, and then going into high school after that, once I achieved black belt and tested for black belt and going from first to second, I was in high school and then third degree black belt, I was graduating high school. I started college and it was a lot transition wise while I was still training. But I think if something's important to you, you're going to find a way to make it happen. For me, I love education and I love learning. So school was really important for me. And I kept up, my A's and B's throughout all of that training as well. I still took, anywhere between 3 to 5 classes a week just because I loved the forms and, the self-defense techniques. So I think it's just it's in me now.
You hear these stories. Master Macy has those stories that, very similar, actually. I think training as a young person through high school into college, instructing, doing well in college while instructing and taking classes. And how did those intertwine for you? Were they mutually helpful at all?
I believe so. Anytime I have the opportunity to share that I do martial arts and I train and all that stuff, rank aside and, kind of all of that hierarchy aside, I guess, for lack of better words, I shared with everybody in each class I had in college that, hey, I do this. And I any written assignment I had where I had to explain something about like myself or like a fun fact, I always mention martial arts and kind of how it's kind of shaped me into the person I am. Like I mentioned earlier, when I was younger, I would be very shy and reserved, and now I'm able to speak in front of a group of people. Or when I took Spanish class in high school, I would get up in front of the class of 15, 20 students and speak in another language, literally. So I think I credit to training in martial arts that kind of makes me who I am, the passionate, hardworking individual that I kind of put out to the world.
How's your Spanish?
Very funny you asked. I took Spanish all 4 years of high school, and I am not fluent. I do not practice enough. I'm admitting that now. I wish it was a little better. But yeah, of course, I mean, I still like to learn. I just don't practice enough. That's all. But definitely gonna try and implement that a little more for sure. I mean, speaking another language, regardless of what language it is, definitely Spanish, which, a lot of people in America speak and the US speak. So definitely having that skill is important too.
Martial arts is kind of another language in a way. It takes immense effort to learn it. It takes years to become even close to fluent. And how do you use martial arts? How does martial arts come into play? Because it's not just fighting, right? I mean, you're
Right.
getting into fights every day and defending, but you put so much effort into it. How does martial arts come into play in your daily life?
Um, I think it's just, if I don't practice my forms, I'm gonna lose them. Memory is really important and recollection is important. If you're able to remember your techniques and you're able to use them in a self-defense situation. Thankfully, I haven't had that happen to me, but I am very confident that I'm prepared if it ever does. But as far as daily life, now that I'm not in college anymore, I don't really do a whole lot other than, going to work and training and, kind of interacting with my students when I teach and even off the mat when they're stretching and things like that. But I think actually social media, I am a lot of friends with different martial artists around in our association and things like that. So being able to connect that way and get to know other, masters and instructors and just kind of see how everyone's other studios are doing and how, things like that. I think that helps answer that question a little bit better. Yeah, how it's kind of intertwined with my daily life, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, you did answer that question really well. I mean, it's
Thank
just,
you.
being here and being able to lead a class, being able to connect with your community and social media community is a huge benefit of becoming a black belt and learning those skills. And can we talk about what Team Phoenix is? What?
Yes, yes. I am part of the World Tang Soo Do Association World Demonstration Team called HDL, stands for Hararangang. That is the young aristocrats from South Korea. So that's where our name originated from. I joined Team Phoenix after I sent in a video audition or video submission to Master Giselle Sharp in December of 2021. So I joined shortly thereafter that. My first camp training for Team Phoenix was, I believe, January or February of 2022. So I was an adult when I started, and a lot of the other team members are teenagers. Team Phoenix is ages 18 to 25. So being already 21, a lot of the other team members that have already been on the Dragon demonstration team, which is the other team for the younger students, 8 years old to 17. A lot of those kids that were on Team Phoenix already had been training on that team. So I'm really new at that point. I'm like one of the oldest students at that point, being 21. And what it is it's really an elite group of students, colored belt students and black belt students that want to take their training to a higher level and demonstrate representing their association, but not just their association, representing themselves and their studio and their instructors. So it's a really nice way to combine their martial arts and or their, form and their technique and that type of thing with the higher level like gymnastics and acrobatics and tricks like that and elevated board breaking. And it's a really cool representation of what our art is, what Tang Soo Do is, just at a higher, fast pace level, which is pretty exciting. So regarding Team Phoenix, as we are the older of the group, we're 18 to 25. We demonstrate at every nationals competition, which is similar to our world championships, which where that is the world championships is our entire association, all 23 regions from across the world. Our martial arts is in 6 out of 7 continents. And Team Phoenix, my first performance with them was, 2022. Yes, 2022 World Championships in July of that year. So I had 2 camps prior to that. I had the January or February camp as my first one in Texas, where I actually traveled by myself for the first time ever. I flew on a plane by myself and I had a hotel room by myself without my parents there. So that was an adventure in itself. And then getting through that 3 day or, the weekend camp, training's pretty intense. It's physical conditioning, it's push-ups, it's sit-ups, it's just learning the forms that we have because these forms are very different than our traditional hyungs that we have. They're very fast-paced. They're very cool. The team pushes you a lot mentally. So I think I had a little bit of a struggle that first camp, but I think if I could do something like that, then I could definitely handle anything else. And then the second camp is a whole week-long camp, the weekend of World Championships. I think I got there Tuesday. I trained Wednesday, Thursday, 8 to 5. And then I competed Friday morning, Friday afternoon, because I was a black belt at the time. So black belts compete Friday all day. So that's a long day as well. And then we perform Saturday morning. So it's a long, long week, but it's very rewarding. We spent, anywhere between 13, 14, less than 20 hours together within that, couple days of training to put together an entire demonstration. So I think the fact that the cohesiveness and the team atmosphere that we all have, even though I was brand new at the time and everyone else kind of knew each other, I fit right in. And I was, if I struggled learning a portion of the demonstration or form, I did it over and over again until I had it. I'm pretty much a perfectionist, so I like to get things right. And if I'm struggling with it, I want to do it over and over again until I have it. So I think the kind of the atmosphere of the team is what makes us great and what makes us work and why it's really cool for, that opportunity to be open to our entire association. So we have a camp coming up in February, actually, so I'm excited to get back and see everybody. We don't meet very often. Both teams meet at least twice a year. Providing every other year we have either a world championships or a nationals tournament. We have nationals this year. Unfortunately, I don't think I'll be able to demonstrate just because I'm getting closer to that aging out range. I'm 24 now. I'll be 25 in September. So so I might, we'll see. I am more on the instructor side now, so I'm not as much demonstrating. So I'm kind of there to help the other students on the other team, which the Dragon demonstration team performs at World Championship. So they'll perform next year, 2026. It's pretty awesome. It's a pretty awesome experience to be a part of. And I mean, just to represent the entire association, with that type of role is pretty awesome.
It's very inspiring to hear someone going from white belt to instructor and from newbie, never been on a plane by yourself before, to a part of a team that you're starting to lead. You're aging out of it, but it's really, you're becoming a leader. What is it like to learn from younger people and from people who maybe you outrank? What's that like?
Yes. A lot of those students on the team, both teams, I am higher ranking than them. So I think, and I'm older than them and they're younger. So I think the fact that they amaze me, the tricks they can do and the flips so effortlessly, it makes me wish I started learning some of that stuff myself when I was younger and, everything like that. Just seeing the skill level they have and the technique and the professionalism and the passion they have for the art, much like myself, it's pretty awesome. It's almost like a reflection, I think, a little bit, because these kids are on the team because they care about Tang Soo Do and they love it just as much as anybody else, and they want to perform on a higher level. So I think for me, it's really cool to see them. I think just their passion. I think the main word is passion that I like to use a lot, is that these kids are passionate about what they do and they want to share it with other people by demonstrating and being on the demonstration team. So,
the community in the martial arts, but especially that black belt journey community, people who are white belts are part of that because they're on the path to black belt. Is there a kind of community there that in Middleburg and beyond that you draw from when it comes to inspiration in the martial arts?
For me, looking back at it, it's my instructors, my old instructors that I've had. I don't want to name all of them, but just quite a few of them, I think, have is kind of what's kept me there. And just seeing the influx of students and seeing them grow literally in height and in their rank as well, and kind of seeing them progress in our art. So I think that's the type of community that I enjoy, and I like to see that progression in just all of our families. That first it's like a child that starts, and then their parents start, and then their siblings start. I think it's really cool that I'm able to tap into that and also make that comment to them also, that my whole family trains. We actually had two parents enroll last night. Their son trains already in our Little Ripples program, and they're fairly new, the entire family, and they enrolled last night, and earned their white belt. So that's how a lot of our black belt instructors now have been training, and it's super cool to have that connection with our families and students.
What do you see for yourself in the next 10 years or
Of course, I think it's almost like a rite of passage at this point. If I, do have any children and everything like that, I definitely would want them in some form of martial arts. Of course, Tang Soo Do is number one. I definitely would want them to train in what I did, so I can help them out, of course, at home. So I think that helps too if a parent is willing to step on the mat and, get out of their comfort zone. If they're learning the same things their child is, and they're able to help them out a little more at home, makes them able to understand the techniques and the form. So I think definitely if they're thinking about it, parents, if you're listening and thinking about it, definitely bite the bullet and just do it. Rip off the Band-Aid and do it. I think that's how a lot of our parents have started. Their kids started, and then they follow right through, and they're black belts at this point or getting close to it.
Thank you for listening to the Ripple Effect Martial Arts Podcast. Find podcasts and more at rippleeffectmartialarts.com.